What's up, everybody? It's GBU. We're back, baby.
Hey, we're doing it. It's SpiderWoman today.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it.
We're really going with that
Who
opening?
wants to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right.
I'm not gonna let Tiffany back out of this now. I'm gonna do SpiderWoman, rematch of Death Web.
Nice. Now, if you want any context, or you want to just keep going?
Sure.
All right. It's a 4-issue miniseries.
Okay.
I feel like they were hoping it was going to be an ongoing, but like nothing could sustain Julia Carpenter's Spider-Woman. But it is also, it dovetails out of Avengers West Coast, an event that happened, a story that happened during that book, which she was more or less the protagonist for.
This is written by Roy and Dan Thomas, with art by John Zop, C-Z-O-P? Zope?
That sounds right. I've never heard the name.
There's Jennifer...
Julia Carpenter.
Julia Carpenter.
We're starting strong here. Who's
I
she?
couldn't remember her name.
Who's she with?
West Coast Avengers.
Yeah,
No,
but,
which
like,
character from the West Coast Avengers?
Who's there with her? Who I missed until she mentioned him.
U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
I had to
Yes.
go back to the panel. I'm like, was he there?
Was he even there?
Oh,
yeah.
there he is.
Yeah, good old John Walker.
They are chasing some people. I believe they were bank robbers?
That literally, like,
Just as gangers.
having it be Julia
Yeah.
Carpenter and U.S. Agent just makes it feel like very West Coast Avengers. Like,
Yes.
hey,
Look, it's not Captain America.
and not Spider-Man.
Yup.
It's
Ta-da!
fine.
It's fine.
You'll get used to it.
Diet Avengers. But yeah, they're fighting gangbangers.
Yeah, they're chasing them down. The gangbangers are in a car that are trying to escape. I don't know what they did.
They stole something.
Or they
Shot stuff up.
shot people.
I
Maybe
believe
they were
shot a
causing
bunch
terror.
of stuff. Yeah, they were general terrorists.
And apparently, Julia Carpenter. Hey, I got it. Julia Carpenter's she makes psi webs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll distinguish her from Jessica Drew Spider-Woman or Spider-Man. Psychic
Psi
webs.
webs.
Well, I mean, Psylocke's around, the focused totality of her mutant ability.
And at least they
The
don't come out her
cyanide.
butt.
Right.
She
She stops the car with them.
stops the car, but she makes it crash.
She does. Yeah.
Into a building.
It's like normally she can make just a web, but now maybe she's getting better at it.
Well, yeah, she like controlled the web and like released it at the last possible second,
Yeah.
so that it like veered off
Right.
and crashed.
Which does not go unnoticed by U.S. Agent who's like, hey.
Hey, that's new. That was good, Red.
Right, and she's thinking to herself like, I should give him the riot act because he's a careless asshole. I love how she's like ready to go, and he's like, hey, way to go. She's like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you too. Maybe you could not be a jerk.
No, I'm U.S. Agent. That's what I am. I'm douchey Captain America.
Yeah, he doesn't care about civilians. She mentions this as like he's using his shield to block and throw.
Pew!
And, like, there's just
Well, he's supposed to protect a bunch of people because, like, a bunch of, like, you know,
Onlookers.
like, onlookers came out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll protect them. And she's like, okay. And then he's like,
Nah.
I'll protect them
He's
by
like
blocking
ev-
some shots.
he's
Into the crowd.
every person you've ever played any online game with who's like, I'll guard the base. Wait, you know what? Actually, I'm better at killing than you are. Trust me.
And I'm not
Okay,
going to
cool.
tell you that I'm coming to help.
No.
I'm just going to be here.
Hi. What? Are
Who's
you
guarding
watching the flag?
Da-da-da-da.
No,
We lost.
they stole the flag.
That's totally your fault. It's not my fault. You didn't get
All I'm saying is like I'm much better at this character, and you chose to be that character, so like you should switch with me.
Thanks, U.S. Agent. We would never have won that battle without you.
So they're kicking ass and taking names, and then one of the guys is like, "I'm gonna get out of here," and he floors it. But apparently she's
He
very
like
strong. and
GTA's
lifts
a
up the
car.
He
He
does.
throws a woman out.
Yeah.
But he doesn't punch her first.
No,
No.
which is very decidedly not GTA.
Yeah, like her snacks don't fall off.
No, but it's
You know, pick up her money.
Yeah.
but it's rear-wheel drive, so they were able to lift it up, and then John like hits him with a door. Like I think he closes him. He does the Doomsday move.
He rips the door off.
Yeah.
And punches the guy, I think.
Okay, so he just ruins the door. Because that was kind of the art is a little more interpretive than your standard comic book art. That is to say, it is comic book art and it is supposed to be standard, but like occasionally, you know, they just kind of fudge it a little bit, where it's like, you know,
Yeah, it's fine.
You'll fill in the rest with your mind.
Changes out of her costume, gets back into her normal clothes, which are very weird.
She's on the West Coast, man. She's got a very different, like, fashion-forward lifestyle.
She's wearing a beret.
What's wrong with that? She's got hat game.
She's got a hat game. Plus, it's the 90s. Anyway, she's got to pick up her parents at the airport.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I have yet to find a person who can pull off a beret.
I've seen many a beret.
I've worn a beret.
Yeah. He's like, I stand.
We're at the airport.
No, we all know I can pull off a beret.
When did you wear a beret?
Probably not a red.
Not like well, and not regularly. She doesn't do the beret thing.
I have a red one and I have a little black one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, you gotta wear it when we're doing like a spy episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We got plans now. We got hat plans.
You saw it here first. That beret is going to appear, and when it does, special no prize to those who spot it and can cite the episode.
Julia's mentioning about how her parents grew up all over the world, but left her at home.
I love. There's a whole like ongoing monologue that she has where she's like, you know, my parents were incredibly negligent and never there and never supportive and never said I love you. But you know what? Actually, like that's good, and they're great. And, you know, they sent me postcards all the time. Like, it's just this thing that was like, a therapist just be like, like never had to ask a single question.
She just figured
I'll
it
let
out.
you just
keep
guide
talking.
this whole conversation. But she never gets the inevitable conclusion of, my parents are terrible. She's like, yeah, they're great. And they live in like Africa and they have like a thing that they're, and
Yeah,
then
it's like an Airbnb in Africa.
And when you meet them, you're like, oh my God, these people. You should come, it'd be great. You could sleep right on the floor. I'm like, you cheap assholes.
So she goes to pick them up. She sees them. They don't know she's Spider-Woman.
No.
Apparently, Julia's daughter does.
Yeah.
What's her daughter's name?
I don't remember.
I really like the fact that like it's the reverse. Like usually it's like the kid trying to hide it from the parents.
Yes.
And she's like, no, I got a
It's
kid.
the parent, well, who lets their
Well,
kid.
yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
she's still hiding it from her parents.
Her daughter was held at gunpoint by like a hostage in the previous story, so like, she's aware.
Yeah, Rachel. Rachel is the daughter.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because she calls her Rach.
That's right.
Rach.
Yeah. So she drives her parents back to the house, and they're like, oh, hey, you're living here. When are you going to get a man?
It's like, I just had a man. He fathered this child. Julia Carpenter, by the way, first appeared in Secret Wars. And because they keep referring to Denver, and I'm like, why do you keep referring to Denver? Oh, yeah. She was on that rock of Denver, Colorado that was sent to Battle World.
Oh.
Also, Bobby's
Bobby
dead.
Morse, yes.
Yeah.
Mockingbird died recently.
She's like, that sucks.
That
Anyway.
sucks. Oh, well.
Something that really threw me off in this book,
Yeah.
which was weird, was the fact that they brought a tarantula back
Yes.
for her.
I'm gonna guess that comes into play later. Like it's some sort of spider totem or.
I don't know. All I know is that customs is really lax in 1996 or whenever this book came out.
Well, they're saying it can't get out.
Right.
Like it's in a glass thing that can't get out, so I'm like, so it can't breathe
I thought
or
it was
eat?
like an
Is it
amber or
dead?
something, but then they talk about it moving and they're like,
Yeah, it's like, look, it's moving around. I was like, that's not okay.
yeah, you got to feed that thing. Like
Nah,
that's a
Well, somebody's lying here. Either like it can get out,
right,
or it's not alive.
right.
Oh, look, it's moving. Oh, I'm
Just shake it
shaking
around.
Yeah.
Ooh. They talk about, you're wanting to have Julia and Rachel come out there and visit them.
Yeah.
And
She's
she's like,
I don't want to do that.
well, not only do I not want to do that, I don't want to go out and have to be Spider-Woman.
Right.
She doesn't want to tell her parents because she's just like, I don't want to make them worry.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same time, there's this weird subtext of I kind of resent them.
Oh yeah.
A guy walks in and she knows him,
Yes.
but also,
kind of stumbles in. It's less of a walk and
It is
more
less
of
of
a
a walk.
controlled fall.
Right.
yeah, he just falls across the threshold.
Mm-hmm. He is covered in
Like boils.
right. What looks like I think they're bites.
It looks like some sort of weird acid burn.
Yeah. No, he is straight up it's like a plague, but I don't know if they're bites or if they're an allergic reaction to
It's something that you
poison.
would definitely, if you were me and you saw it on TikTok, you'd be like, nope,
Yep. It would just swipe away.
nope.
The dad is like, oh my God, that's Dr. Napier. And she's like, you know him?
Right.
I know
him. That's weird.
He's
Yeah.
like, no, we were going to meet up. Why do you know Dr. Napier? And she's like, never mind.
Because I'm Spider. No, never mind.
She goes outside. There's a giant spider monster called Thorak.
Yeah, who is not first appearing in this book. Like this is a thing, like
Yep.
a recurring character.
The Death Web crew. He followed her there. He apparently attacked Dr. Napier.
Oh no.
She tries to battle him away from the house.
Right.
Which she does. They go down to a wharf. They fight on a boat.
Well, because they're
Sustain-
clearly trying to fill in case you don't know who this character
Which
is.
you don't.
But there's too much going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's like, let's enjoy the fight. No, I only have 4 issues,
Yeah.
and I got to set up their axe, who's already been set up.
Yeah, and Dr. Napier apparently also has ties to like the Death Web crew because
Right.
like they got their powers the same way as Julia did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she like puts all of her strength into one last punch, knocks him in the water, and you're just like,
It's
but
over.
that never works in the movies.
But she says that, she's like, I know he's not dead.
Right.
Like,
But like I have to get home.
Yeah, but I'm done here.
but like maybe it's enough that he won't come back tonight.
That's fair.
She makes her way back home. She stumbles across the threshold, and then suddenly they're just like, "Oh my God, it's our daughter! Why is she wearing this costume?" And Rachel yells her name, and at the end,
Well, she didn't even name her literal name. She yells
he yells mom.
She was mom.
Yeah.
But then you'd know, like, oh, so Julia Carter is
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
like a sorry.
It's all right.
Julia,
No.
Julia Carpenter is Spider-Woman, and they're just like, oh, the secret's out.
Yeah, they're really annoying about
This
it.
is like the lowest stakes comic I've read in a long time.
That's right. Yeah, it's all about like, oh no, will Julia Carpenter's private life be disrupted slightly?
It's funny, she seems like she could be like an interesting character.
She's
but
single
they're-
mom.
But they're focused too much on the wrong elements.
Absolutely.
In this
I mean, we'll
comic.
get into the
Yeah.
analysis later.
I'm going to do Spider-Girl. Because everyone's going to expect you to do Spider-Girl.
This is true.
And me to do Spider-Gwen, so I'm going to do Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
Which is from Marvel Comics 2.
It's the MC2 universe. This was a character created.
That's just Marvel Comics 2, not MC2.
They'll call it MC2 later.
Okay, sure. I love this cover too because it's like it's Spider-Girl, and then like in the background the ghostly figures of the backup comic, which I did not read.
No, don't. I'm so
didn't read
glad you
either.
guys didn't. Okay, good. Because I saw it when I read it the other day. I mean, I own this is my copy, but like when I reread it, I was like, oh no, there's a backup. Sometimes
Yeah.
you guys read the backups,
No,
and then I'm
I
like, we're not going to
didn't.
do the
I looked
backup.
at the team for the backup. I was
Oh,
like, oh
it sucks.
I don't even
gosh.
remember the backup
It's.
now.
I'll tell you
backup-
this: it is very much in the noble tradition of the Avengers at that time, in which
It's
they blow.
Yeah, it's the the next generation of Avengers.
Just
or-
call it the Avengers,
Avengers
for God's
Next.
sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No.
Avengers next.
They're-
MC2, A next.
That's
they're-
right.
It's Jubilee, Speedball, the Supercharged Jolt, because some people got like
Like we got new characters too.
no,
like
but
some-
like it's like the Supercharged Jolt, but it's just Speedball and
Yeah.
Thunderstrike. And
Yeah, but the
Mainframe,
supercharged jolt is like a cola that I want to
and
drink.
the stunning
Damn
Stinger
right. Yeah.
and the unstoppable J2
Again with the abbreviations and the number 2.
and his flannel.
Yeah. Well, he wears a flannel checkered shirt, long sleeve,
Around his waist.
around his waist,
Like everyone did.
like everyone did. Everyone cool, who listened to music from Seattle.
All right, so let's talk about Spider-Girl.
Please.
It's written by Tom DeFalco with art by Pat Olive.
I always pronounce it Olif, but I don't know.
Olive? I want to talk about something really interesting about this book and what I think probably got a lot of people into it, other than the fact that this was like if you were like a straight dude, like this is a Spider-Man you can bang. Let's get.
Yeah, I
the-
mean,
hang on,
okay,
hang on,
there
hang on.
is a history of
That is
that.
that. This
Yeah.
is like one tiny little.
It's a sliver, it's a
but
small
there's
part of
something
the pie.
interesting that this book does that I've literally never seen in any other comic I've ever read.
Wow.
And it's in the narration of this book, because typically the narration is from either an omniscient narrator or from your character, the character
Yes.
who's speaking, or a character that will like whiz talking and then goes to tell whatever. There's someone's telling a story, right? But the narration in this, I've never seen this before.
And it'll continue in this series
Yes,
forever.
and like, for example, and then you learned that your dad used to be the costume hero known as Spider-Man. It's drawing you in.
Yeah.
Like you're this character.
You're the diary she's writing this about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're this character. So like I feel
Yeah,
like
you're May.
yeah. So like this is the diary basically,
Yes.
and like it's giving people like a connection to a book in a way I've not seen done before, which is to like put you in that position. So,
Yeah.
like, as I was reading, I was like, I didn't notice it at first, and then partway through, I was like,
Oh, it's like pulling
what?
me in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I think what it was I was correcting
Right.
for it automatically, and then I realized it partway through, and I was like, has this been doing this the whole time? And
Yeah.
I went back and I was like, yeah, it really has. So I get it. I get why people really like this, because this book is trying intentionally to make you feel like you're the character
Yeah.
and like give you that attachment to this character.
And it's also really like prescient because it's like it's a female protagonist.
Yeah.
Who's young and new, and it's like that's really like kind of contemporary.
Yeah, and like this book goes out of its way to try to, in its first issue, like give you the Spider-Man vibes without necessarily banging you over the head with it. Like it totally admits in places where it's like trying to mirror it, but we're like diverting slightly.
Right. Like normally in a Spider-Man comic this would happen, but we're doing this.
Yeah. like, this is like, she's already got her powers, but like, and she's had the opportunity to be like Spider-Girl.
She had an adventure as Spider-Girl.
But now that's over.
And they were like, you needed to be Spider-Girl to save your mom.
Yeah, but now you're not, and now you got to go back to high school. And she's realizing, like, but like, I could do more.
Yes.
Like, I have this abilities, and I should be doing more. She goes to high
Much
school.
like Spider-Man always did.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. She mirrors Peter's lesson. I know that, like, I remember DeFalco talking about it, where he's like, Spider-Man's approach to being Spider-Man, Peter Parker's approach is, if I'm not Spider-Man, people die.
Yes.
And May's approach is, when I'm Spider-Girl, people live.
Yes, she like
It's the exact same thing, but from an optimistic perspective.
Yes, like he's glass half empty, she's glass half full.
Exactly. Well, because she didn't get her powers through tragedy and accident.
Yeah,
She was the
exactly.
byproduct of love. So it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but like.
But also, she didn't get her powers until, like, she was of age.
Right.
Like, she had them when she was a baby.
No, she did not.
So like, for example, like she goes to high school and like there's a fight that breaks out between someone who I'm going to guess is going to become like a Goblin-esque character in this book.
You'd be surprised
No?
what happens to Jimmy Yama in that book.
Okay.
But it ain't what you think.
Okay.
They were deliberately trying to subvert expectations.
Okay.
But yeah, you meet a couple.
But you meet like a cast of characters who mirror
Peter's when he was a
cast
kid.
of characters, right? Like we meet Yama, who is very much like the Harry, but
Yeah.
not.
No.
Because they don't have a connection.
Right.
Like typically, like there's some sort of kinship there at times in those books, but they're not really. Like she just stops the fight between Moose and Yama because Moose is a jerk.
Right.
But we also meet Brad. So like Brad, it's funny because like Brad's a blonde, but he's outgoing. So it's like he's either her Gwen or her Mary Jane, or a combo there.
Yeah,
of both.
yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's supposed to be her Gwen because she has a friend later on who strikes me more as a Mary Jane.
Yes.
Who like who's like like
It's more outgoing, more
yes,
fun.
who like like, oh come on, we're gonna go do this thing, and
Yeah.
like it's gonna be really fun. We should go shopping, and like I'm gorgeous, and
Right.
So we're seeing the cast kind of come together here.
Yes.
But she wants to know more because like she's just recently had this adventure. She wants to know more about Spider-Man, and she could talk to her dad about it, obviously, but she wants to get other people's opinions about it.
Yeah.
So she goes to where her dad works, which is at the police department.
Yeah.
Which is like interesting. He has
Characters.
an injury, and so
Yeah.
he can't really be
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Green Goblin blew his leg off
Yeah,
when
so
he was Spider-Man.
he has a prosthetic leg, and so he is doing what he can to
Keep being responsible.
Yeah, exactly. But what she wants to do is she wants to talk to her Uncle Phil, who's Phil Urich.
Who was the Green Goblin in the 90s.
Okay.
There's a whole thing. Ben Urich has a nephew named Phil.
Yeah.
Phil was like a young new character. They had no goblins. They didn't bring back Norman yet, so Phil, he becomes a goblin character, but a good Green Goblin.
In this universe?
In the same universe, yes. Like, in the main 616 universe, he becomes the Green Goblin.
But not in this.
And in this, he was the Green Goblin in the past, in our present.
Oh, so this is like
So this
the
is an older
MC2
Phil.
is
like looking at the present comic books and prognosticating about its own
what could
future.
happen. Okay.
So yeah, Phil was always a Green Goblin, but a good Green Goblin.
Yeah, but Phil has like some information about how it's like whoever Spider-Man was, like his powers came from like tragedy, and like he actually didn't start off to be a hero. He wanted to like use his powers to like use for entertainment and make money, but like through an act of like irresponsibility, it led to someone he loved dying.
Right.
And she's like, huh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah. Well, like I'm assuming
We have to know.
I think Peter never really told May about Uncle Ben.
At all?
Yeah, I think he kept that shit to himself.
Like
Because Aunt May's dead too.
well,
so
Aunt
now
May's
he
dead.
has to focus on Aunt
She
May.
better be at this point.
No, Aunt May's long gone.
Like,
well, no, because Aunt May already died in the past of this book.
Right,
In Amazing 400.
right,
like,
right.
So,
but I'm just saying, like, no matter what.
like shortly before she was conceived, Aunt May died.
Yeah, either that or she's a mutant.
Or she's a mummy.
Well, and they wonder about that.
If
A mummy.
Aunt May's a mutant?
Aunt May is a mummy, and no, she's not a mutant. No, they're wondering if May is a mutant.
Oh, okay. So she's like, okay, like that's interesting, and like she starts to feel for her dad.
Right.
Like she's like, oh, like I didn't realize he had so much tragedy like in his life, and like maybe that's why he doesn't want me to do this. Fine, whatever. Dad comes in, and she's like, oh, I just came here to see if I could get a free lunch.
He's like, sure.
But he can't stick around. He has to go with his captain
and
to
cheat on MJ.
What?
No.
But like as May's leaving to go back to school because it's her lunch period, she notices like she and her dad both have like a spider sense moment, and they notice someone like checking checking them out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, who's this shadowy figure, right? So he's like, go back to school.
I will deal with it.
Right? And she's like, okay. Like, she's
Totally will.
totally read you loud and clear, but like, hey, you know what? Like, through Spider-Man's inaction, someone died, so like, I should probably follow just to make sure. I'd rather be my dad's guardian angel, because like, I love my dad, right?
Right.
And so she like takes out the person who's following him by like putting a trash can on his head.
And just smashing him against the
Wild
wall.
Stallion style.
Yeah.
So
Spider-Girl rules.
That person just takes it off like he's fine. I'm like, this is a metal garbage can. He is not fine. It was
No.
a metal garbage can against 2 brick walls.
Well, we see him like gather himself. I assume that's like 45 minutes later. He's
Yeah. Like he
Don't go to sleep. You have a concussion.
yeah, like he later goes and was like assaulted by like the villain of this book, and I'm like, dude, this guy's got maybe like 10 more minutes of life in him
Yeah.
anyway. Like he clearly has an aneurysm.
You're not gonna die in an alley again.
At least get back to
Like
work.
your father.
So then
You know my father?
she
forget?
no, but she follows him.
Yeah.
And like to see where he goes to a clothing store, and she's like, "That's weird." Anyway, I totally missed like
English lit, yeah.
And I better go back to school. So she does. Where we run into Davida, who I think is kind of like MJ in this.
Yeah.
Except without
but not
like the romantic.
Except for that.
I mean,
yeah.
it could be, but like it doesn't strike
true.
me as that. But like that, like
She's an
Energy.
outgoing, fun,
she's very outgoing.
spunky character. Yeah.
You know, she's like, "Oh, I had a personal matter to take care of," and like Davida's like, "Oh, I know
You were
what's going
hooking up with
on.
Brad
It was
somewhere."
Brad. Anyway, like let's go like shopping after."
After this.
Because like she's like, "You're clearly down about something. I don't know what it is."
Yeah.
She's go play basketball. She's on the basketball team.
Yes.
I think Davida is as well. She doesn't really want to do it because she feels like it's not.
It's cheating.
Yeah, well, no, she feels like it's not really a challenge because all she can think about is kind of being a hero. But once she gets on the court, she starts to feel a little better.
Yeah.
But then like her spider sense kicks in as like she's being guarded as
Yeah.
she's trying to make like a layup or whatever. I don't know sports. And makes it and immediately realizes like I am cheating. Like,
Yeah.
I am like I can't play anymore.
She used to be good at basketball, by the
Yeah.
way. Like, and then
Like she's like, it's not fair.
And
like,
then she
I
just
have
got great.
I have a total
Yeah.
edge.
Yeah.
And the coach really like, drives it home by being like, hey, everyone has to practice until you're as good
as May.
As May.
By the
She's
way,
like,
that's Flash Thompson.
oh, is it really?
Flash Thompson became the gym teacher
oh.
of Midtown High, which I kind of think is cute. I like that a lot.
He's got quite the spare tire going.
Yeah, well, they all get old.
No, I meant like it's Flash, so it's like it's
Yeah.
funny. Like
Yeah.
he's like, screw it.
I'm sure the current Flash would rather be this one.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe. But anyway, you know, TV just feels like this is where I get like that feeling about like her being like Mary Jane because she's like, listen, those other girls are just jealous of your moves, just like they're jealous of how like exceptionally beautiful I am. And I'm like, ha ha ha, okay,
Cute.
cool. She made like arrangements that so that like Brad and Moose would take the girls out to the mall where they could go shopping,
Yep.
but May's not gonna go. She wants to just go home, check in with her family. So May does go home, they have dinner, and like it's really very clear that like MJ's figuring this whole thing out.
She's like, you're being Spider-Girl.
Right? So like, cause like they took everything and like
They threw it all
they
in the
threw
in
it
the
all-
drum.
If
and,
there's
like-
one person who knows what it's like for someone to hide being a spider person, it's MJ.
That's true.
yeah, Peter's like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter is clueless. He's like, I expect you to not be Spider-Girl. Like,
And
'cause I
MJ's
said
like-
so. And she's like, there's no freaking way she's going to stop. Because your compulsion can't stop you.
Yeah.
Like,
Like what?
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 Yeah.
How could you say that?
I thought you loved me. What?
yeah.
Of course I love you. That doesn't
That's how
mean-
yeah.
The-
That's
The only thing that May didn't throw into the drum were 2 web shooters and a few cartridges.
Yes,
Right?
thank
So
goodness.
she's like, okay, I got these. So after having a run-in with her mom, she's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the department store, the clothing store, and I'm going to investigate. So she throws on like a
Workout outfit.
uniform with like a pair of gloves and a ski mask.
Which works.
yeah.
I really kind of dig it.
It's kind of a cool suit.
You know, she's just got a ski mask on, so it's understandable that like the eyes wouldn't be covered. But again, like what makes Spider-Man so great is the fact that it's like it could be anybody under there,
Yes.
right? Like when you expose like skin like that,
That's true.
it's less so.
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes back there and she's like trying to be stealthy, but she's immediately caught because the guy who she was following earlier is being interrogated by a bunch of goons and
Yes.
like a dude in a trench coat and full like
Blank supervillain outfit.
bodysuit thing. Because he's like, no, I got assaulted, and they're like, by who? How did you lose Peter Parker?
Parker, yeah.
Like she's like, no, I got assaulted, but they disappeared. He's like,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
my thing.
Right.
That's my power. Or you think you're like, oh, you're so clever trying to come up with like bullshit.
Uh-huh.
Immediately she's discovered. She bounces around.
She's on the ceiling. If there was someone there,
I would know.
and I'm talking to you guys, I would notice.
Yeah.
But she hasn't really done this. She's new. I kind of like that. Like,
Yeah.
she's new to this. She, like, her dad's not training her. So she's doing the best she can, but she's quite agile, and she manages to avoid everything. She takes out a bunch of the goons. However, the main dude, who's Mr. Nobody, which is really funny, because I called someone in that strange comic Mr. Nobody, but it was Mr. None. And I was like, oh, I'm clearly thinking about Doom Patrol. But
no, there actually is a Marvel character named Mr. Nobody.
Because the web shooter's jammed because the cartridges are expired.
Yeah, they're old.
So she's like, oh no, I've got a jam. What am I going to do? But it's fine. She gets the drop on him, and then the cops show up because the clothing store that she's in, front, was being watched by the cops. And Peter Parker and the captain were keeping an eye on them.
With it, yeah.
And so they all show up. And she's like, I gotta get out of here before Dad shows up. And I get pinched.
Yep.
So she flees.
How do you get home? We'll talk about this later.
Mr. Nobody.
It's like every issue of this book.
Disappears as he does. He can teleport. And then Uric and Peter show up. They're like, oh, I guess we'll start investigating as they get the perps out of here.
Yep.
But Yurik's like, oh yeah, also the gang leader and some ninja lady got away. And Peter's like,
okay.
I didn't see any of the signs.
And there's webbing that they find.
Yeah, but he's long gone. He is long gone before that webbing
it feels
is
like
found.
webbing.
And then it turns out the Kingpin's still around.
Yeah.
And he looks exactly the same.
It hasn't aged a bit.
Well, yeah. You only get wrinkles when you get thinner.
That's right. That's right.
He just keeps on keeping on what he's doing. So the Kingpin of crime is behind all of this. He makes sure to mention himself as that. He's working with Mr. Nobody.
Yep.
Clearly, because they mentioned that it was mobster style crime, gangster crime going on. So it makes total sense. So May goes home. She quickly hides in bed like every teenager ever. Because she's still got the outfit on. She can hear her dad coming down the hall. She's anticipating this conversation, and he doesn't go in. He's afraid to have it.
He chickens out.
He can't do it. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm definitely going to have this conversation at some point. That's definitely going to happen.
Yep.
In the coming days, she will go to a costume shop, buy a bunch of materials to start making her own costume. We see her mom there yeah, so you're making a costume. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just drying the dishes, but I don't know anything.
Yeah, I'm your idiot mom.
Right, don't have any idea what's going on because you judge me like I'm your dad.
I'm an actor, you know. I know about lying.
And then we see the reveal at the end of May's costume that she's put together.
It's just the exact same thing.
Because she's like, I gotta protect my dad and I gotta do better because with great power comes great responsibility.
Yay.
So there's the beginning of Spider-Girl. Yes.
And then our third one is Spider-Gwen, also known as Spider-Woman in her universe.
She's known as Ghost Spider.
So we got Spider-Gwen, the last Spider-Woman in our lineup. This is, of course, written by Jason Latour with art by Robbie Rodriguez. This was spinning right out of the Spider-Verse story arc, which Dan Slott invented her. I think the pitch was Gwen Stacy, but a spider person. That was the pitch, but he gets all the credit for it. But this is the aesthetic, everything that you like about her from Into the Spider-Verse. That whole look, that whole thing from her universe, it's all from this. We just get
Except here she wears the headband.
Yeah, that's true. She doesn't have a fun haircut like she does in the movie. But we get the rundown. It's the same thing. She gets bit by the spider, but Peter becomes the lizard, and Peter was like, nah, but he never became Spider-Man, so Peter dies, and he basically becomes her Uncle Ben. And then we see that her whole universe is really topsy-turvy and fun. It's one of those things that I really want to see explored in the Into the Spider-Verse, but it's that's all Sony. Matt Murdock is the kingpin of crime in this universe.
Why would we do that? Why would we spend money on that when there's Venom?
Great.
Venom.
Also, we set up that George Stacy, who's still police captain in this universe, Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, saves her father from an assassination attempt, and so her dad knows that she's Spider-Woman, and Spider-Woman is more or less persona non grata because I believe she's blamed for the death of Peter Parker, and it's and more, but there's no Jameson element. So this issue is just an opportunity to showcase a bunch of fun characters that also exist in the Spider-Gwen universe, which includes the Vulture, Adrian Toomes, same exact thing, but he's got actual vultures that come with him. And
there's pets.
Yeah, there's pets, and he's more gross. It's just a slightly modified version. I love it. It's
he's like the Penguin.
Yeah, yes.
He's the Penguin, but with vultures.
Exactly, which I love that they're whoa, Kingpin is Murdock. Wow, how about Vulture? The same thing, but stylized.
Well, Ben Grimm is in this.
Ben Grimm is in this. He's like a police captain of Yancey Street.
Yeah.
And he shows up to try and stop a couple of would-be taggers from being murdered by the Vulture, and ends up like going for a ride and getting his butt kicked. And he's fun. It's just Ben Grimm. Hey, I'm going to show you what being from Yancey Street's all about. But again, I feel like it's a waste of Ben Grimm's character, but it's cute to see him.
But I believe he's married in this universe.
Yeah, he's married in our
Happily.
universe now, yeah.
No, but happily.
He's still happy now.
Yeah, but she isn't.
Yes, she is.
He's a giant rock monster.
The other fun characteristic of Gwen is that she is part of a band, an all-girl band called the Mary Janes, because Mary Jane's the front runner. She's also, of course, a complete diva. And
Mary Jane is?
Yeah, Mary Jane is. Gwen does the drums. And during the Edge of the Spider-Verse and subsequent other appearances, she has left the band. Captain Stacy's trying to check in with her because Ben was hurt, and they're checking in. And so the guy who is our Rhino in our universe is like an enforcer. He's not fun. He's just kind of gray.
Sorry, you're not fun.
He's not fun. He's not as fun as a dude trapped in a rhino suit.
I'm endangered. What do you expect?
He's like, I can poop whenever I want.
That's true, freely. And in fact, he is, because there's another cop in the precinct that is also just, it's like, oh man, you did the same thing with the thing. But Frank Castle's a cop in this universe, and he's just beating the hell out of Alexi for information about Spider-Woman. He's like, I don't know anything about her, but, you know, Frank's gonna get more information. Gwen saves a stolen cash register from the Hamburglar, and she finds, I think, the cash register had like 73 cents in it.
Yeah.
She brings it back to the bodega owner, and he's like, this thing was loaded with $100 bills. Like, the Spider-Woman must have stolen it. And she's like, I'm kind of like strapped for cash. Is there like a reward? He's like, absolutely not. And it's like, okay. So Spider-Gwen, Gwen Stacy in this universe is like, if you are a Spider-Person, enjoy your poverty and misery and like and being like on the underheel of society.
Yeah. You're a criminal, and no one likes you.
Yeah. After a single of the Mary Janes hit it big, the Mary Janes have become the flavor of the month. Everyone's like listening to their song, which of course has Gwen's awesome drums on it, but Gwen's left the team. Of course, Mary Jane was threatened by Gwen in the first place, so Mary Jane's happy to have been rid themselves of Gwen.
Well, yeah, there can only be one alpha on this.
Exactly. So they're trying to they're trying out replacements on the drums. Gwen is like interested in returning to the band, but also is like, no, but I have responsibilities, and I shouldn't just like fritter my time away being on the band.
Well, she also feels a little betrayed
Yes.
because like Mary Jane is being kind of a bitch to her.
Oh no, totally. Yeah, no, Mary Jane is not your
Typical Mary Jane.
your 616 Mary Jane in this universe. Mary Jane makes it really hard to be in this band. I mean, it's like Josie and the Pussycats, but like with a lot less fun. So they're testing out this like cousin. I thought it was your cousin. I thought it was my cousin. He's terrible, and they're like, we need to call Gwen. We can't achieve our sound without Gwen.
Yeah, they were using like a drum machine, and they're like, it's just not the same.
No.
There's no heart in it.
It sucks. So she's like, nah, good. Also, Glory Grant, again from the 616 universe, she's on the Mary Janes. Gwen's dad keeps trying to get in touch with her. She won't get back to, like, she won't call him back. She doesn't want to address the whole Spider-Woman thing. She doesn't want to talk to him about it. It's an awkward conversation. She investigates the Vulture situation. She breaks into his apartment, and she ends up like being incepted because like there's like a hotline. If you see Spider-Woman, call this number. She's bad, and someone like sprayed on it.
Yeah, that was the Yancey Street gang.
Exactly. So she steals spray paint and spray paints all over Manhattan insults about the Vulture to goad him into action because like we can't find him. So I'll just like call him a douche. Like, I'll write on a water tower, death from a butt, and then draw, like, a bird. So she's hanging out until she's attacked by the Vulture.
Well, it's funny, because he leaves a cloud of green smoke wherever he's going.
He does, like he's farting. I love that the Vulture
Like me.
attacks her, and he's like you thought this would work. I'm like,
It worked.
It worked. It worked perfectly.
I
What are
hate to
talking
tell you,
about?
Toombs, you were goaded, man.
Yeah.
We're here.
But, so she...
I'm here because I want to be here.
Okay, sure. But you
I
are
was
here
always
because
gonna
you
be
followed the
here.
breadcrumbs of what I tagged,
No, I was
right?
always going to be here.
Okay, sure. So she webs herself to him, and he flies up too high for her to web away, and then she plummets to seemingly her doom. And at the same time, her dad's still trying to call her on the phone. Ah! It's just, yeah, and it's just a fun little like romp. Oh, look at that. Look at Gwen, and look at her hyper stylized universe. I feel really bad. We'll talk more about it, but like, there you go, SpiderGwen.
Props to
Rodriguez?
Rico Renzi for his
the colors?
incredible colors.
Yes. No, the colors are the standout. Like, I mean, the art
general
is
art
great,
is
but
great.
the mesh of art and color,
the
really,
colors really, like,
it's so vibrant.
it
and
wouldn't, yeah, would
well,
not
that's
be
the thing.
the same without those
And I guess I'll
colors.
talk about it now. Like, this book is all style, and without it, no one could possibly care. Like, if you like this book, it's because of the feeling. Like, this book is a song. It's like a beat.
Yeah.
You know, it's a feeling. It's not necessarily like a great comic book. It is a fun, cute, cracked mirror version of a comic book. Like, it has a beginning, middle, and end. It has all the basic tenets of a successful comic book.
It's also very much a Spider-Man story.
And it's a Spider-Man story. It's through and through a Spider-Man story. I think it's mired in the Spider-Verse. I think the fact that, like, she's never going to be her own character because she's inexorably connected to the Spider-Verse. Like, she came from it and she is set against it. She doesn't know herself in a vacuum, and so as a result, she will always be like in the shadow of Spider-Verse.
Yes, but at the same time, like, that's because
Well, she was invented
can't
there.
be- yeah.
She can never. Yeah, by
that's-
virtue of
that's
her
our
existence.
own
Yeah,
perception of
it's
it.
true. I'm ascribing meta reading.
she has her own individual uniqueness.
She does,
That, but we can't see it for that.
No, it's true. But they do a nice job of expressing this universe, and it's like, as long as it's drawn and colored by this team, I think people will enjoy it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There was a song like you hit the jackpot, Tiger, or something
Yeah.
like that. Didn't they make
They
a
did.
song?
They
Yeah, it's
did.
You read it in the back.
Yeah.
it's just in the
Well, yeah,
letter.
but that's the only way he'd know.
yeah.
Yeah, but like I remember hearing that song.
Yeah,
like,
it's-
they
Yes,
made
it
a
came
real
out during.
song for
Yeah,
it.
they made a real song
it's
for it.
done by Married with a Sea Monster, who put together Face It Tiger.
Yep.
I'm tied here.
Yeah.
These are both my good.
Right.
This has a more compelling story. This is just fun.
Right. That's how I feel.
If I had to give it a good, because honestly, like, I like Spider-Man as a character, but substance-wise, this is the good.
Okay.
This has to be my bad. It's a fun read. I want to read more of it, but this is overall a more compelling story,
Yep.
and this is my ugly.
That's
because
totally fair. Because it is.
Nothing happened.
Agreed. That's exactly my take.
Yeah. Well, because like I don't like calling this the ugly because I like this character and I think she got done dirty.
She was. The thing is,
Like
if they
like
didn't
reading-
do this,
reading
she'd never have
between-
any book.
I know, but reading between
But
the
that's the
lines,
problem.
I'm like, this is a really like this is a lot of potential.
There's-
Like
there-
there's something here.
There's a lot of work that was put in, and there's a lot of world building. It's just that like there's nothing. Like I love her as I love the single mom aspect. I love it conceptually. Hey,
I didn't mention it.
an ad for Brock's Rocks. We can get our rocks off with Brock's Rocks.
That's right, Brontosaurus breath.
Yeah.
There's like something interesting here, and I feel bad for this character.
Yeah, like I wish they could redo this. Like Spider-Woman of the 90s needs a reboot.
If it wasn't annoying fight in the beginning to just introduce the world that they're in, hardly any backstory, and then fight at the end where the stakes really are just, I might be exposed to my family.
Yeah. Well, she also gets trashed by that tarantula monster.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know the stakes until we see her costume get all ripped up. And then I'm like, oh, she's really losing to this
No,
thing.
I think so. Like, here's what I think happened here, because it's like it's written by Roy and Dan Thomas. Roy Thomas,
Roy Thomas is a pioneer.
he's a
yeah.
writer. Like he's a writer. But it's like the story's muddied because they're trying to do too much with the first issue.
Yes, and
like,
I think they know they're
and
only
you
getting
can
4.
Feel it.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
feel it. And I gotta tell you, the artist is not helping this book
No.
at all. Like the artist, I think, actually hurt this book a little
Big
bit. And I
time.
hate to say that because it's like an unkind thing to say, but like this was not the right artist fit for this.
No, it
book.
wasn't.
You needed someone who could really competently like help the
Execute
story
that.
along and like make clear like panels that like, oh, okay, I totally see what they're getting at.
Yes.
And I know what's happening.
Mark
Yeah.
Bagley would have been a good pick for this.
It's just this book is done dirty, and like that's why I hate calling it the ugly, because it's like I feel bad.
I did well because there's a lot of potential. It is ugly though. Like the colors for me are the worst.
So
'cause
like
it's so
let's talk
muddy.
about that, because like there's something like these colors are lazy AF, and
Thank
there is
you,
like
they're so
literally
flat.
there's a panel here where she's at the airport trying to find her parents.
There's
and
no
like,
depth.
There's like a sea of people there.
Yep.
And they just used whatever the one skin tone was.
That's right.
And I was like, not the way you drew these people.
No.
There's no way that's what it would be, but you were too lazy to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And
I had to get this to print.
yeah, that frustrates the hell out of me. These colors are lazy and muddy.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I'm saying.
I also find
I hate that like,
Well, that's the thing is that technically it doesn't work on a lot of levels. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of thought balloons in this issue.
yep.
And the thought balloons are also distractingly oriented. They're
Yep.
not balloons. They
Oh,
are
yeah.
they are squares with loops around them.
This book feels like it was the B team put it together.
Yeah.
'Cause, like at times too, it's hard to follow the conversation just because the letterer didn't do a great job
Exactly.
of ballooning this issue. But like I said, like there's something about this character that like I'm interested if it wasn't this.
If it wasn't just so ugly.
like I have to give it the ugly, but I really hate having to do
yeah.
it.
All right. So are we
like-
recommending it for the wrong box?
No, because like it's not that bad, and I feel too. I'm not going to at
Okay.
least, and I'm going to say this is my good. And while yes, I'm sure
Because it does the opposite. It's like
well, I think it's a compelling story, but really for me, it's just the really innovative way of doing the narration
Mm-hmm.
here that's trying to bring you in, and that I think it actually worked.
yeah.
Like by making you the hero, like I think it actually works.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you didn't even notice until halfway through. You're like, wait a minute.
Wait, well, because I think I was, like I said, I think I was correcting it, and then I noticed, I was like, wait, does that say you? Did it always say you?
Is it me?
Am
Am I Spider-Girl?
Wow.
Yeah.
So yes, and then this has to be my bad.
My bad. Yeah, and it's fine. Like honestly, like I think it's all style. It's not like the substance is objectively like it all works. You know, it's like, oh, I like the idea of the Mary Janes or of course.
This would
Like
have
what a
been-
fun idea.
If they had thought to do this would have been a better webtoon.
Oh
And,
yeah.
Like,
If it was just this with that color and that art style, yeah.
yeah. Across the board.
Across the board.
Different reasons.
For very, very different
Yeah,
reasons.
I just didn't like the story.
No, I couldn't.
No, and like
I
I
get
said,
it and
like,
I appreciate it. Like objectively speaking, I'm
I'd
like,
also,
I get it,
I'd
but
also
no.
like to see a slight update of her costume.
I love this costume.
Well, and here's why.
Because there's a kissable mouth.
I just think it's cool.
No,
She looks like Batgirl. Like she got the open hair thing and the open mouth. That's iconic as AF.
that's not my problem. My problem is like the way in which like the costume is broken up. I think is a little clunky now.
I kind of like the thigh high
course you do.
boots. I think those are cool. You could bring this costume back and refine it, and it would be a complete new
You know what's
thing.
funny is they probably won't ever want to do this since they're so terrified of aging their characters. The fact that she has a daughter and is a
Oh, I
widow.
know.
Like,
Well, but it's like,
but
but
like
nobody-
that's interesting.
No, they turned her into Madam Web,
right.
so she has no costume. Except it's like a Madam Web.
Does she have a daughter still?
They don't really talk about it. Also, I think she might be dead. I don't know. It's a mess.
I think a different reason I'm not a fan of this is because she's getting like really trashed up where her costume is, but she's fine underneath.
But like, she collapses at the end.
No, I get it.
We
It's
only really-
lazy.
Yeah.
Like the damage is in the costume.
Well, that's
she
also
doesn't
just
take any damage.
You know why that is?
happens. Well, yeah, because it's.
They gotta watch out for that code. They can't make it look that bad.
Oh no,
Yeah.
a bruise or a
Well, yeah,
scrape or a
no,
cup
like
or
they
something.
have to like.
Well, and we could have Spider-Man bleed and Superman bleed, but like that's a woman.
Yeah, it's different rules.
It's too violent.
It's different rules.
Guarantee you, it's too violent. So there you have it, everybody. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll see you guys next time with an all-new episode here on this channel. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm Sal.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Tiffany.
So long.
Ring that bell.
Ding.
You gotta say that.
ding.
You gotta ring the bell for notifications.
That's right, you do. Otherwise, you'll never know
and
anything.
that subscribe button down there is looking awful lonely.
So you should probably
Probably hit
tap that button.
Gotta love it.